Hello, hello, everyone. It's been a while. We are back with a new show, and it's 2025. And I was suggested a guest from Andrew, who is one of our new coworkers. He's doing the adaptee golf for Spinalpedia, which is going to be something we'll be talking about more this year. And Ricky Chang is one of our first adaptee golfers, and he's also been paralyzed for a while, and he has a lot to share about his life since his injury. And so, hey, Ricky, how are you?
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to
Nice to
meet
meet everyone,
you.
whoever's
Yes.
listening.
So hopefully we'll have some listeners once this goes live. But yeah, hopefully. I think we will. I can see the numbers. We get listeners.
Yeah,
So,
if not, it's okay. I'm used to talking to an empty room, So someone's got to hear my voice.
well, you got to give your caregivers something to talk about when they leave the room, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think let's start from the top. I know you're on the East Coast, right?
Correct.
Okay, so where are you located?
Uh, I'm located in Northern Virginia, which I'm like 40 minutes south of DC.
Okay.
Basically been born and raised here my entire life.
Is it
So,
like a small town or a big city vibe?
well, I don't know how familiar anyone is with the town named Manassas, but it's like uh it's big-ish, I guess. I mean, suburby, but I'm like an hour ish north of Richmond, and like 40 minutes south of DC. So I'm in a good middle spot where I can kind of pick and choose like which city do I want to go to or where I
Okay.
want to be. But yeah, it's quaint. It's got
Born
its
and raised.
yeah, more or less. So I was
More.
born in Fairfax, but been in Manassas basically my entire life.
Cool. Well, I'm not familiar with that area. We could talk more about Manassas, but I want to know more about you, actually.
No.
So, but one day we'll talk more about that. But I know that your injury happened in 2008 and you were a BMX racer, right?
Yeah, so you
Mhm.
did some research on me, huh?
A little
Uh,
bit.
I
A
was
little
wondering how
bit.
much you're going to find out about through all the research. I was like, let's see how public my persona is.
Well, Googling yourself is kind of a scary thing. Have you Googled
Right.
yourself recently?
I try not to sometimes because then I'm like, oh, there's too much there.
Well, there's not too much about you. The stuff that's out there is good. Your LinkedIn is helpful for me. I was able to find just a little bit about you, about your education and stuff. But I think what's interesting, your story starts out like so many of ours. I got injured in high school too, and I know were you 18 or were you about to graduate?
I was 18. I was a month out of graduation.
Okay. That must have been for like of course very difficult, and I think you went to Shepherd, right?
I did, yeah.
Okay. So your injury, it's hard to tell from looking. Is it like you have an incomplete injury? What exactly injury do you have?
Oh no, I am complete. I'm a C4, C5 complete Asia
Oh,
A, so it's like
okay.
definitive, I
Oh,
guess you could
really?
say. Yeah.
Shoot. All right.
So,
So when your injury happened, I always ask people this question, like what went through your head? Because I know when you're 18 and people tell you, well, you have a spinal cord injury. Did you know exactly what that was and how did you
I had
compartmentalize that?
no idea. Am I allowed to cuss on here, by the way?
Yeah,
Sometimes
you
I
can swear.
Okay, I'll try to limit to
We're
it, but
not super
some,
kid friendly.
okay, sometimes it slips out and I always have to remind myself what environment I'm in. But I had no clue idea what like a spinal cord injury was or like, I saw someone in a wheelchair. I was like, "Oh, they just can't walk." That's all of it. I never had to think about, "Oh, they can't go to the bathroom on their own. Oh, they have to
Right?
worry about wounds or, any other that kind of stuff." But going back to D-Day, I guess you could call it,
Mhm.
I remember what was going through my head is well, first the ground tried to go through my head because
Oh my
like
God.
I wasn't
Mhm.
BMX racing, but I was doing BMX
Oh, okay.
and I was trying
Sorry.
to grind a handrail. And when I was doing that, I went too much of an angle and what's called the bottom bracket of my bike, which is the bottom of the frame. So my front wheel went over and the bottom of the frame hit the rail, and then I kind of Supermaned head first into the ground. I guess you could call it. I have it on video, so I've seen it. Um, and I just remember I like, you kind of like black out for a second when you hit your head, or like, don't really like pass out or black out, but you get shook, and
Yep.
it takes you a minute to reorientate yourself.
Hmm.
And I was sitting there, I was like, ow, my neck really hurts. It felt like I was like headbanging at a concert too long. And then I was there and was really like, why can't I move right now? And nothing really freaked me out. I thought I was just like, in shock or whatever. And it wasn't until like my thumb was laying like right by my hand that I bit onto it and I couldn't feel it.
Oh
And then
no.
that's when I realized, oh, I can't really breathe right now either. This sucks. And I had two friends with me. I was like, we should call 911 because something's up. I'm not moving at all. And it still didn't really like hit me that this was like a permanent thing at the time. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
something's just going on weird. And then I remember the ambulance came and they had to helivac me out. And I remember the one moment where like things started to really set into me and freak out was like I was talking to the what did they call the people in
The
the
medic?
ambulance? The medics, yes.
Yep.
Sorry.
Hmm.
Um he was like, "Hey, can you squeeze my hand?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm squeezing." He's like, "Can you squeeze my hand?" I was like, "No." I was like, "I am squeezing." He's like, "No, you're not." I was like, "Okay, well, what does that mean?" He's like, "Well, you can't squeeze your hand. We're gonna have to put a catheter in your dick." And I was like, and that's when I freaked out for a second and I was like, what the hell are you talking about? What do
Mm.
I then things started to set in from that moment. And then the helicopter came.
Wow.
Helicopter came, and that was a rough ride because I remember freaking out while I was in the helicopter because I was having a hard time breathing, and no one in the helicopter was looking at me. And I was trying to yell at them, it's like, look at me. I don't want to pass out. Look at me. I can't breathe.
Oh my
And but of
gosh.
course they couldn't hear me because the chopper was so loud. And then I got into the hospital and I was my type of personality is I always have to make fun of the situation going on or make jokes just because, self-deprecation just kind of helps the world go around.
I love
And
it. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
And so I was in the hospital and I was just like, um, just I remember talking to all the nurses and stuff. So is I've never been to a hospital before, at least like like in my older age.
Hmm.
And I was like, is this anything like Scrubs? Are you guys funny at all, or where's the drama or anything like that? They're like, no, no, or nothing like that. And then everything hit me when my parents came in. They just ran in and then just tears started flooding. And then that's when the realization of what was happening was really setting in. And then they put me into surgery. And then I woke up. I remember like waking up like in a daze because they started to drug me
Yeah.
and they're trying to shove tubes down my throat. And I remember chewing through them. And then I woke up and I had a trach and I was laying in the bed and I remember my dad was sitting in the corner and I was just like, what the fuck is going on? And then that's when I was there for a
And
week and then
you,
they sent me to Shepherd and
you went to Shepherd. Was there ever a moment where there was a therapist that said, "You, Ricky Chang, will never walk again," or a doctor?
yeah, I mean I heard that a couple times, but
Mhm.
you don't really digest that really well when someone tells you that in that
I
moment.
know.
I
Mhm.
remember the first 5 years of my injury, I had what's called the 5 year plan. I was like,
Nice.
I was like, I'm gonna be walking within 5 years. I'm the kind of person that's not gonna be kept down. And then 5 years passed, and you're like, oh shit. And then depression hits a little bit, and you're like, well, that plan didn't work out. And then that's when you have to learn to accept things and the
Mhm.
realization of what's
Yeah.
actually going on in your life.
Yeah,
And
it's the first few years. I think a lot of us might think that. I for sure did.
yeah,
So, but what was you went to Shepherd, right?
yeah.
And that's a they call it a very prestigious, rehab place because they do so much good stuff there. I bet it's been a while since you were there, but do you want to say anything about your time there at all?
I just, like what you said. It's kind of prestigious. It makes you feel like it's like the Harvard of spinal cord doc places and stuff. You should be walking. Actually, I did come out there with a cap and gown. Like they had a little graduation ceremony for me while I was there when I went from
What? Mhm.
to outpatient there.
Oh.
But oh God, it was a very tough time mentally and emotionally. A lot
Mhm.
of tears because it's just like I wasn't near my friends or with my family. All my friends were on summer break and they're all living the lives that I wanted to be living at the time.
Right?
But
Hmm.
everyone at Shepherd was beyond incredible.
Yeah.
I met some of the coolest people there, some nurses and the staff and stuff. They made you feel like not everything was the end of the world, even though it kind of felt like it at the time.
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
they scare you in the right places, like, like for wounds and stuff, and then they make you feel hopeful for everything else going on and such. Um, but yeah, I not to say I had a great time there. Like, oh
It's
yeah,
like such a
I can't
weird
wait to go
time.
back. But you know,
I understand completely. And then they're like, it's time to go home. And then you're like, what? I have to go home now in my wheelchair and live this life. And I think it can be a little hard the first year home. What was it like for you when you went back? Did you go? I think you were about to graduate from high school. So what was your life like when you went home then?
oh, it sucked. I That transition was horrible.
The
Because
worst. Yeah.
yeah, like when you're in the hospital and everything still kind of feels like a fantasy world or vacation and stuff. But when you come home, and totally redid my entire house while I was there because I was in Shepherd for 3 months.
Yep.
I came home, my bedroom was entirely different. I had a ramp outside my house, and I remember seeing just this hospital bed in there. And I that first night going to sleep was just like, shit,
Hmm.
this is real.
Yeah.
This is like my life now. I can't like I'm not gonna go get up and go biking tomorrow. I'm have to sit here with my thoughts and
Mm-hmm.
this new environment and figure out what the hell I'm gonna do.
It's so hard. I know exactly that feeling. And
Yeah.
it's like, if only I could go back in time, which you can't. And then
Not
you're
yet,
like,
at least, right? You know?
and you're stuck in this present state of, okay, well, I have to live this life, so I have to figure out the best way to do it, right? Like I can't let it take me down. That's kind of was my mentality. Did you ever think that way?
Um, no.
I
I
got
mean,
mad. I'm
as
like, this is not going to take me down. No way.
I kind of went in and out of that. I mean, as bright and personable as I seem right now wasn't always the
Hmm.
case.
Yeah.
I I mean, I always kept my sense of humor through everything and such, but no, I had some very dark days those first years and such because, you know, I was an incredibly active person, and like I
Yeah.
said, I had just graduated high school, and the month after graduating is when I had my injury.
Okay.
And so all my friends, once I got home, were all at college and such and living their lives. And
Right.
I had an incredible sense of FOMO because I was
Oh,
supposed to be on that ship with them, like
yeah.
cruising, all that kind of life, going from college to college.
Hmm.
The, those are like your formative, like, um, the years that shape you and
Yeah.
such. And I
Yeah.
got shaped in an entirely different way than like all my other friends. And I just felt so depressed and so sad and so left out for so long.
Hmm.
So many so's.
How did you how did you move past that? For anyone that's out there that might be experiencing that today, like what does it take what
Oh,
does
I
it
don't know
take
if
for
you
you to
ever actually
finally?
move past it at all. I think you just kind of learn to, I mean, I guess I'm past it to an extent,
Hmm.
but it's more of like wanting to make something better for yourself and radical acceptance, I think is like the biggest thing. I got into therapy, which I, didn't like at first until I remember like breaking down and crying one day and just going to my parents. I was just like, I need help. I don't know what to do. I didn't, and I started getting into therapy and I just, um, you kind of just make the best of what you have and realize like you can still have fun. You can still go out there and be in the community. You can still, um, I don't know, friendships. I've known my best friends for over like 25 years, which is something that's like really helped me. So they've always been around and they've
That's
always,
great.
yeah, they've that I like I don't think I'd be where I am without a lot of my friends and of course my family.
Hmm.
But, like that those connections have really helped me stay afloat and just kind of like I said,
Well, I'm
it's
glad that your
easy to
friends, so
fall in.
many people have stories of their friends kind of hightailing it, you know? That's great
Right.
that your friends were there. Are
Yeah, which is I feel incredibly fortunate because I hear horror stories like that where these people are in chairs and they don't have any friends. And I'm like, Jesus, if I didn't have my friends, I don't know what I'd do.
there?
I'd be screwed. But
I have a question. So you and your friends nowadays, what kind of things do you guys do? Just, what do you guys do when you hang out?
oh, we just act like a bunch of morons and idiots as if we were a bunch of 5-year-olds in
Nice.
a daycare. What? without
Mhm.
any supervision anymore, you know? It's like
Do you play video games?
I do. I do. I
Mhm.
just noticed I have the quad stick here, so I do
Yep.
play video games. So me and my friends we play games like that. I don't know, we try and do basically anything that's I guess quote unquote normal, you know, we
Right.
go out, go to parks, laugh, make jokes at each other's expenses and make fun of each other and just try and be, you know.
I think that's awesome. So, can I talk your comedy? I think I read online that you may be interested in doing like pursuing it in a more like official manner where you would go and do stand up, LOL stand up. But
Yeah, I know. Right.
I hate when people make
I
jokes. Like,
remember one of the first times I did stand-up comedy. I haven't done it in over 4 years, which is something that makes me really sad. But I remember one of the first jokes I made to people was like, "So I swear to God, if any of you guys make a stand-up joke right now while I'm not doing this set, I'm done. I'm out of here." And you know, of course, got a laugh and such. But I my first time I ever did it was when I was 27. I'm
Okay.
35 now,
Mhm.
and I did it for a couple years. But it's um doing comedy was like the closest thing. Okay, let me bring it back to BMX. So I was a BMX rider beforehand. Every time you learn a trick, you get this insane adrenaline rush, and you feel like you're on cloud nine, just floating above the world. It's like, holy crap, I got over my fear and I did it. Doing stand-up comedy was is the closest to that feeling I've ever gotten since after my injury,
Cool.
where once you do it, you're like, holy shit, I got over my fear and I did it, and I made
Nice.
people laugh. And I'm not funny. This isn't supposed to happen, but they did. So I fooled them all. But it's I don't know. It's just an incredible feeling to be able to be out there and fight your anxiety and your everything that scares you, and say like, no, body, I'm the one in charge right now. Shut up, brain. I'm gonna do this. And you put yourself out there, and it's an experience and something I'd love to pursue more. But unfortunately, like where I live,
Mhm.
there's just not too much of it's not very accessible because most comedy clubs are like in Arlington or DC and stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, people with spinal cord injuries, you know, getting in and out of bed isn't exactly the easiest thing, or getting around. And comedy is a late night gig.
It
You know,
is.
I'd have to go out there late at night, and I need someone to drive me out there, then help me into bed and stuff. And I don't have that kind of help right now. So
Maybe
it's
one day you could find that crazy PCA that'll come with you wherever.
yeah, I know, right? Exactly. If
They
anyone's
exist.
listening, hey, who wants to help me
Listen,
make jokes?
that person exists. I know they do. You could find
Yeah.
that person. How does like when you did your first show and you approached the comedy club, or how did you do your first show? Like what was it involved in getting that to happen?
So it was my 27th birthday, and it was just an open mic club. And a friend of mine, Joel, I heard he was doing it there, and I remember seeing something on Facebook, and I was like, holy crap! If there's I could do this. There's an open mic night nearby, and I remember going there, and then just being scared shitless. I felt like I felt like I almost um crap myself. I don't know. I was
Mhm.
trying to make a funnier joke, but I couldn't mix in my head well. But
Did you write your jokes out all like a whole list of them, or
no, I did bullet points,
okay?
and so I've learned more that it's probably not the best thing I should have been doing. My kind of mentality, the way my brain works, I need to write things out more because I did bomb one time because I just wrote bullet points without really thinking too much into the joke, and then ooh, bombing sucks. You don't realize it, and then you're like, oh God, I'm saying things, but they're not laughing. But yeah, so I would go back to this place. It was called Epicure, I think, at the time.
Mhm.
I would just go I think it was every Thursday for open mic nights. And then I did get some recognition, and I did do a couple comedy shows nearby there too, where I was actually part of a showcase, and I got paid a couple times, which
That's
felt
awesome.
really cool. And I got to open up for a comedian Liz Millie, I think where's I was like there was like four of us in the showcase. I was the fourth one, so I was the opener for the openers, and um,
That's cool though.
Yeah, it was a really cool experience to be able to tell my jokes, make people laugh. And I remember a couple people in wheelchairs saw that I was doing some jokes, so they came up to the comedy show too. So
I love to hear your stand up one day. Do you want to tell anyone, like, tell us, I guess, what you joke about or what your comedy reflects or anything like that?
I mean, self-deprecation, I think, is just the biggest thing I got. I always like to make fun of myself. I would make fun of myself, my family, or just
Like Conan
any.
O'Brien humor. I love that guy. Mhm.
Oh man, yeah, that's exactly it. Conan O'Brien is actually like my biggest idol. I've been watching him since I was like 12,
Perfect.
that
Yeah, he's like
yeah.
the king of self-deprecating humor. He really
Yeah,
is.
exactly. I'm like sometimes I get mad that I don't want people to know Conan exists because if they find out he exists, they'll be like, "Hey, you're just imitating Conan right now, aren't you?" I'm like, "No, that's why I need his fame to die down a little bit so people don't realize I'm just ripping him off the entire time."
I love Conan O'Brien.
Yeah,
Obsessed. So, did I read you have your driver's license?
I do.
It's so
Yes.
cool. Okay, we only have so much time left, and I want to make sure we talk about that because I haven't met many people with a C5, C4-5 level injury complete that have their driver's license, even though I knew it was possible. I know we could talk about this for a whole other hour, but just to kind of glaze over the details, what tech do you have in your car that helps you do this?
I have an AVIT system and I
Mhm.
have a Chrysler Pacifica.
Okay.
And yeah, I haven't driven in like 6 months right now because I got a new wheelchair and I had to get it all repurposed for the car and
Yeah.
stuff. So right now it's sitting out there. But yeah, driving, I started the process like 3 years ago and it took forever for it to happen because driving was, like I said, I'm 35 now.
Yeah.
People had always told me, you should drive. But driving was literally my biggest fear ever about doing everything. I used to drive a lot before I had my injury. I drove all up and down the East Coast and such, but
Fun.
it was my biggest fear getting back behind the wheel as a quadriplegic because I
Yeah.
was like, what if I have a spasm and I accidentally run into a school bus of children and I kill them all and then I have that guilt on my conscience. Luckily, it hasn't happened yet, so knock on wood
Yeah.
somewhere. Um, but that was a pretty tough experience, and it was a very cathartic experience going through it. I had an
Yeah.
amazing instructor who helped me
Okay.
really see that I was capable of driving. And
Do you have a modified, do you use your joystick to drive or do you steer the steering wheel or what's your steering?
I, like I said, I have the AVID system. So basically, I have a tri pin on my left hand. I
Okay.
push for gas, pull for brake, and
Mhm.
then I have another tri pin on my right hand that makes
Steers.
a horizontal circular motion, and
Cool.
it's 2-to-1 ratio. So as I turn that, that's what turns the steering wheel.
Oh, that's so cool. I saw that on YouTube and I wasn't sure the name of it. That's really, really cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Was it tricky to learn?
Oh yeah. So like I said, it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life was learning how
Dang.
to drive again.
That particular
But
hand control though. Yeah.
yeah, it's tough because it's you got to make sure your chair is in the exact right place, your body is strapped in, and the controls are positioned where you can feel free and fluid to drive around.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's expensive as heck to get all that, but if you're able to, it does really is really great. And so for you, when you do have your chair and your van, everything's together and it's up and running normally, do you find yourself just going out and just going for drives, or when do you just for joy rides, or or
I
or what do you do?
no, I didn't like driving that much by myself.
Yeah, it
I
can be
remember
nerve-wracking a little.
yeah, I remember tracking my heart rate one time. I was like, oh man, I'm like 120 heart rate right now. I'm just driving, sitting at a red light right now. But what I would like to do is I have a friend who lives close, a couple of friends who live close. I would go pick them up and drive them around, and we'd go, to a park or the battlefield or the mall or do something.
It feels good
And
to be behind the wheel, though, don't you think that just the feeling is
yeah,
worth it?
it's incredibly freeing, which is
Yeah.
nice. And it was nice to kind of um give back to some of my friends who've been driving me around. Like one time I was able to drive my friend to another friend's house, and I said, "Hey, guess what? You can get as drunk as you want." and I'm driving this time. You
Nice.
don't ever, because anytime we go somewhere, they have to watch what they drink and stuff like that because
Yeah.
they're taking care of me. And I just put their hand on my shoulder, I was like, you can get as drunk as you want. I'm behind the wheel this time. Don't worry about it. And he's like, this is so weird.
Yes. It's kind of nice to get to give back all the care that you've received. I love it. I love it. If there's ever an opportunity to do it, it feels really good, like mental health
Yeah,
wise. It's really, really
exactly.
good.
Because I mean, um, I'm sure as you know, I looked a little bit into you too. So it was a
Mhm.
two-way street of research, and I did
Cool.
notice
Well,
that.
good.
Yeah, I noticed that you've been in a chair for a while. I'm
Yeah.
sure as you know that
Hmm.
being taken care of is an incredibly hard hurdle to accept, and saying yes to help it's it takes a lot. So
And you
anytime,
just feel guilty too after so long, you know?
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. And so anytime when you can lift some of that guilt off your shoulders and give back to people that have given back so much to you, even if it's something as mundane as driving them to the store, it's just like if it's a cathartic feeling and it feels really good and makes you feel it's one of those moments where you kind of forget that you're in a wheelchair and that you're actually a person.
Totally. It's
Yeah.
real. Behind the wheel there's something about it. I love it.
Yeah. So if anyone's listening that's thinking about going to
Do it.
driving, don't. No, I'm just joking. Do it. Do
I
it.
don't,
Okay.
and I'm kind of worried that in like 20 years they're gonna try to tell me my van can just drive itself for me. And I'm gonna be like, no, 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 no. I still want to drive my van, you know? I think they're gonna have
Really?
these new technology things where I like to drive. I like to do the driving thing, you
Oh God, no.
know?
As much as I drive now, I still hate it. I hate every moment of it. Every time
Oh,
if automatic cars come, I'll be the
are you
first one to
down?
line up and
All
say,
right.
take me
You do
wherever I
it.
want.
Well, you have to let me know how it goes. Okay. So before I let you go here, I heard that you also you were doing you did a NASA internship because you have your degree, you recently graduated with your degree in communications, right?
I did, yes.
Super,
So
congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, I graduated in spring of 2023, and I've always been a big NASA nerd. I love space and technology and the great unknowns and stuff like that.
Mm.
And I'm a communications major. I wanted to go for physics initially, and then I realized like, oh, math is really hard. And I was
It
like, I
is.
guess I'm not it's not cut out for physics and such. So I never in a million years thought as a communication major I would end up in the world of NASA.
Yeah.
And but I threw my hat in the ring,
So how did
applied
you
for
even do that? Did you
internships.
see an internship and applied, or what was that
Yeah, they
like?
have this I can't remember what it's like a gateway thing where you can sign up and filter all their through their internships and such,
Uh-huh.
and you can just
Cool.
sign up. And I remember um I signed up and I remember the email I got when I got accepted in the internship. I remember they're like, "Hey, we're wondering if you are interested in our internship. Are you still available?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." I was like, "Okay, we're picking a few other people and stuff." And I was like, "Okay, don't get your hopes too high up. Don't just take it easy." And I remember one time my mom was driving me to go actually get work done for our van. We were still going through that process.
Hmm.
And I opened up my email and said, "Congratulations, you've been accepted in the NASA internship." And I screamed like, "Yes!" And my mom slapped me. She said, "Don't scare me." I was like, "I got accepted into NASA." She was like, "Oh, okay, yay!" And I was at Goddard, and it was one of the most amazing, humbling experiences of my life, and made me realize how smart some people are, and how not smart I mean, okay, I'm smart, but like I was the only communication major in my group of internships, and I'm working with a bunch of people who are physics and engineer majors, and they're working on quantum clock technology and rocketry and stuff like that. I'm like, and I'm over here telling people how to talk to one another.
Is
And
that what you were doing? Like, were you, as your internship, like duties, what were they having you do?
so I had two internships there, and the first one was a summer. I was part of the commercialization department. And that's where the NASA tries to partner with like, SpaceX, for example. They
Hmm.
commercialize with SpaceX to work and to have them ship payloads and stuff. So
Cool.
I did a lot of like research on commercialization and promoting what commercialization was. And then my second internship, I was part of the engineering directorate, where I was working on their website and I was translating all their scientific know-how speak and changing it into normal dialogue for the website for people to be able to read it and such. And
Okay.
so that internship, I was directly underneath of a scientist, and I remember talking physics with her and stuff, and like, this is crazy. You are so smart. and I look up to you so much, and you are doing all the cool things that, and I don't, it's just, it was, I felt like a dream the entire time I
Wow.
was there. I got to see some of the coolest facilities ever there. I got to tour everything and meet, like I said, I met one guy who was in the control room for during the Challenger
Oh my
explosion.
God.
Yeah, I got to meet him and talk to him for a while and just to
Wow.
hear his perspective like on that kind of event and
Wow.
him still
That's
getting teary-eyed and breaking up just um for something that happened so long ago still. And yeah,
that's crazy that you got to meet somebody that was there. Like,
yeah, like you said, when I heard him talk about it, it was just it felt like like it happened yesterday the way he talked about it.
Wow.
Like
He
still,
probably knew some of those people.
that's exactly what it was. Yeah.
It's
And
horrible.
yeah, like I said, I got to tour. I got to the Wallops NASA facility, which is on the eastern side of Virginia, where I
Mhm.
got to see where sounding rockets were made and such. And um, yeah,
That's amazing. What
it
you're
was
so
incredible.
lucky you're out over there by the NASA area to even, to take part in that. It's awesome.
Yeah, I got
So,
to provide got to provide some voiceover for NASA too, so that was really cool. So if there's an internship video that you can find on their NASA YouTube page, where you can hear my voiceover or something, and they had a couple articles about me too while I was there. So
are you going to try to get a job at NASA?
I would love to get a job at NASA, but unfortunately, there's just like a hiring freeze right now. I'm
Okay.
still in touch with a lot of people I was there with, and it's just it's hard. There's no job openings right now, and
Okay. With the
it's
transition happening, you mean?
yeah, with the
Okay.
administrative transition and everything like that. It's really hard to
Hmm.
find a job. But yeah, I talked to them
Well,
and I
maybe
said
one
yeah,
day though, because you already have your
yeah,
foot in the door.
yeah, exactly. It's on my resume, so which is nice to say that. And even if I never work for NASA ever again, just that those 6 months I had there would just I don't know, it was a dream come true, and
It's
I'm glad I
amazing.
got to live that. And especially someone in my situation, I'm in a wheelchair and a communication major,
Hmm.
two things that you don't think would ever be a part of the NASA work experience, but there I
Hey,
was.
listen, Stephen Hawking, he was in a wheelchair and he was totally in it. So,
That's true, yeah, but
yeah.
he was way smarter than I will ever be.
Yeah, maybe one day you should go back and do an engineering degree and go back to NASA, man. I know. I always think I have a communications degree too, that I should have done science. Not too
Yeah,
late, is it? Maybe.
that's what I feel like. If I do ever go back for school, it'd
Mhm.
be for atmospheric science, and I think that would
So
be the
cool.
real one of the coolest things to really go into because weather, I think, is one of the coolest, fascinating things that we have going on here on
Yeah.
Earth. That yeah,
We could talk
I
about weather too. It's fascinating right now. The world is crazy. It's
yeah,
so changing. Okay, so Zoom is about to tell me we have to end the call, so I'm going to end it before it tells me to do so. But I want to thank you again for, joining our little podcast here. It's Spinalpedia, and maybe we'll have you on to talk about adaptive golf later this year. Would that be okay?
have me back as often as you want. Like I said, I'm an open book.
Okay. Let's
I
have you
can
back on because I want to talk about adaptive golf at length because I think that's really cool and I love what it's going to give to people, the opportunity to get on the course.
yeah,
So,
absolutely, yeah. So that was super fun. So I definitely have thoughts and opinions about it.
all right. Well, awesome. Well, we have no links to share for Ricky because he's not on social media, everybody. You're going to have to just like wait for the next show. Um,
Well, if I do reinstate my social media, like I said, I delete it every now and then.
yeah,
You can follow me at the Rickles. Just
at
check
the
back
Wriggles on Reddit.
on so when I do have social media, it's Instagram.
Mhm.
I delete it just to give myself a little mental break, and
Yeah.
sometimes I undelete it. So I might undelete it in
The
between. So
Wriggles and Riggles.
the Rickles,
The Rickles, like
the
Don Rickles.
Rickles. That's who I am on
Okay.
across all social media platforms. So
Okay.
if I do have social media when this comes out, you can look for me there, and
Well, you
we can
never
go
know.
from
There
there.
might be someone that might want to talk to you about anything we've talked about, especially your driving experience, because I think that one's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, I'll let you go. Have a great day, and we will have you back hopefully sooner rather than later.
All right. Thank you so much,
All
Tiffany. It
right.
was awesome
Thanks,
being here.
Ricky. I'll talk to you
Yep.
later. Okay.
All right.
Bye.